Money never sleeps, pal.
Hey there, this is Pete Townsend from Norio Ventures, and welcome to Money Never Sleeps, a podcast that looks inside the head of entrepreneurs and at the crossover of startups, enterprise, finance, technology, and life as we know it. This week, we talked to Sorcha Finucane, founder of TrainedIn, an online platform assisting training and consultancy providers in showcasing their business and services while connecting them with individuals and organizations in need of their services. When I learned about Sorcha and TrainedIn recently, I was really intrigued, first off, by the network effects of TrainedIn, where buyers bring more sellers and sellers bring more buyers. Secondly, as the whole world of professional training became virtual very quickly a few months ago, I wanted to know more about how those delivering training and those in need of training programs were managing to keep things moving. I come from a family of educators, and my co-host Owen and his family have some experience with educational endeavors as well, so this one hits close to home. So without giving too much more away, let's jump right in with Sorcha Finucane in this week's episode of Money Never Sleeps.
Money never sleeps, pal.
Welcome to the show, Sorcha.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Pete and Owen. Absolutely delighted to be here. And thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you on. Really appreciate you coming onto the show. And again, for all the folks out there in podcast land, we are recording again at nighttime because money never sleeps. It is 9:11 p.m.
That's it.
as we're kicking this one. Yeah, that's not a good omen, Sorcha, is it?
Hopefully not. Well, we'll see.
All right. So, really glad we connected because the business that you're running is so relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And just eager to hear about that and some of your perspectives on how the world has changed and how you're responding to that. But to kind of get things started, I've had a look at your LinkedIn profile. I think I know where you're coming from, but it's always good to get the story firsthand, obviously for us and for the listeners. Can you share your backstory and how you got to this point?
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to. So my background is senior management positions in hospitality, industrial catering, facilities management and organization development. And in December 2018 or 2017, I registered my first business, TG Learning and Development. I pitched to one of the largest retailers in the country, got awarded a contract, and pretty much started in January 2018. And I was immersed in this project for 3 months. And at the end, when I finished towards April 2018, I was like, where's my next bit of business going to come from? I was so engrossed in what I was doing and busy on focusing on my client that I completely forgot about the business development aspect of a business and the networking possibilities and opportunities. And I'm not one generally to jump straight into things. So before I did anything, I looked at my business and said, what do I need to do? I need to market my business. I don't know how to do it myself. I can't afford to get somebody to do it for me. And I hated social media. And I didn't want to be throwing money all over the place that was just going to go down the drain. So I evolved my business to become a broker as such for training and consultancy services across Ireland and the UK. And I looked at business as a 360. So finance, risk, governance, planning, project management, health and safety, food safety, all aspects of HR and development, and then the individual person. So mental health awareness and stress management and wellness and nutrition. And I went and I found amazing people across Ireland and the UK to deliver all of those services and to collaborate on projects where I was the glue and I went out and I got clients and I applied for tenders and it was going really well. But by the end of 2018 and into 2019, I then started becoming a go-to person for people where people would ring me up, other training providers or clients saying, have you got someone who can do IOS training in London? Or do you know someone who can do leadership training in Tipperary or something in Scotland? And I just drop whatever I was doing, go to my database, try and help somebody out. But trainers train and consultants consult. So you're waiting for people to go on a break and email you at lunchtime or in the evening. And by the time you got back to the originator, they'd already got sorted or cancelled what they were doing and never told you. So you'd wasted your entire day. And this is where TrainedIn, the aspect of TrainedIn came to me. And I said, what if we could automate this process? What if we could help people to not miss these opportunities if they were working and couldn't take a call? And then the other side of it was, from my experience in business, a lot of the companies I worked in had really cumbersome onboarding processes that when you're firefighting in a particular department, the thoughts of going through that process was just like a nightmare. So you just stuck what you had and ticked the boxes that you needed. And then you have the back of house administration. When I was in organization development, you could have 10 training sessions going on around the country with external trainers and external venues, and then all the invoicing and everything that came with that. And it was just an administration nightmare. So in July 2019, I had my first meeting with the development team about the concept of TrainedIn. And it was during that meeting that they said to me, this isn't a training company. This is a tech company. And I was like, but sure, I know nothing about tech. How can I run a tech company? And it was a real, what I have learned between now and then is phenomenal. And yes, I've made mistakes, and would I do certain things differently? Yes, absolutely, I would. But the concept of TrainedIn is an online platform that is designated to training and consultancy providers to showcase their business and their services. And the idea is that it's free for them to create a profile, free for them to detail the services that their business offers, free for them to showcase their scheduled training services, and it won't cost you anything unless it generates you revenue. So we want to put wants to put small, medium, large, and freelance business on the same level playing field, because we'll heavily promote the platform so it becomes recognized as a go-to entity for training and consultancy services across the spectrum. So everything business related, what I had said before, and collaborations and health and safety and development, but all the way across to the everyday. So you're looking at nutrition and personal training, but also driver instructors or tutors for sports sessions or coaches. So all of them can avail of the platform. So we'll heavily market it. We'll do all the SEO. We'll do things like getting the name out there. But in turn, it will help promote their business. You'll never be able to buy the number one spot on TrainedIn. So everybody is going to have a chance of being found and getting that visibility that costs so much money now. And I think that's what a huge barrier is for people. SEO, AdWords, and all the paid advertising on social media, which can be a gamble in some cases. Sometimes people just can't afford it. So if you were to go and put into the World Wide Web now, leadership training in Dublin, you're absolutely bamboozled by pages and pages and pages of advertising, which might be irrelevant, and all the bigger companies who can afford to be consistently ranking number one all the time. And you'll very rarely find a small business or a freelancer. So this is where TrainedIn is coming in. So we will rank.
Okay, really interesting. And I love the network effects here as well, right? You know, there's a VC out in California that we talk about way too much, in NFX, and still waiting for them to one of their content writers did actually like a post from last week that we did, where we referenced the conversation we had about them in last week's episode. So, shout out to NFX.
We've made it big time.
They got back to us, but they're all about marketplaces and network effects, right? And buyers bringing more sellers and sellers bringing more buyers, right? I can totally see, and I'm going to put Sorcha through the Airbnb quiz that we did a couple weeks ago.
Oh God!
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. We'll do that in a bit. But can you talk about the scenario where the buyers, right? So the people looking for training are bringing more training consultants and training providers to the network, right? To TrainedIn, and where the training providers / consultants are bringing more buyers to the network, right? And can you talk about that context a bit and how that's developed over the last year or so?
So what we're doing is I'm all about reward and adding value. So from a provider aspect. I know that they have clients who could benefit from using a platform like TrainedIn from their own, I suppose, back of house administration purpose. So what I'm saying to our providers, if you bring your clients to TrainedIn, I won't charge you commission on the bookings that your client uses you for. So it won't be any disservice to them. I'm also rewarding providers on the platform. If you refer 5 people to me on a monthly basis, which if you look at the huge scale of what a provider is not that hard, we'll reduce your commission by 50% for the following month. So if you keep referring people on a regular basis, you're going to keep your commission rates at 50% less than what they would be, which will automatically help the platform grow because it's in their best interest to refer people. And then from a client perspective, we again realize that they have their own providers, and clients work with providers because they've developed relationships with these people. They trust them, they value their opinions. So it's not about being afraid of introducing your client or your provider into a bigger networking space and the fear of getting lost. They're with you for a reason, so if a client introduces their providers to the platform, we won't charge the client anything to use their own provider through the platform, because they'll potentially use it for other services, which will only benefit the platform more. So it's about adding value to everybody and helping us to grow. So that's where I see our networking, our business and buyers helping us grow. And I can see your thinking there in the background, which is great, Pete. I like to make people think. But it's like TrainedIn is an ever evolving platform. Like what you see right now is a minimal viable product. I have a technical roadmap of 6 new feature releases every 10 weeks for the next 3 years. So the order in which they're going to be released will be dictated by the users of the platform. What's going to add more value to you? What's going to help your business grow? What's going to generate more revenue for you? Because the difference between TrainedIn and any of the other networking platforms, it's in my best interest that it works for you, because I only get paid if I generate you revenue. So that's the way it is. So I have to work for you. I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to help you grow, trying to get you business, trying to get you seen, trying to get you visibility, and trying to make it affordable for people. And that's what it's all about.
It's really interesting because I wish I could recall now where I saw this earlier. It was on Twitter, but someone was talking about the unbundling of a lot of these kind of platforms. And
totally.
Like this is an example. It's, like we all use LinkedIn, but in terms of specific things, I wouldn't use it for anything specific. But it's that idea where it's taking a wider kind of model like that and breaking it down to specific types of businesses, whereby, like you said, people are bringing their providers, so it's very specific, and they're getting all the benefits of that. And it kind of that seems to be where these things are going, which is obviously being reflected then in how you've been able to grow the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me right now, I'm not focusing on making money. Obviously, we need to generate revenue so we can progress and build. But I'm about adding value, because when you add value and you can get the trust then of the people will help you grow your platform organically. And I'm not naive to think that it'll just happen like that. There's a lot of work that has to go into it. You have to develop a lot of good relationships. We've already a few hundred people signed up onto the platform. We went live in April. But what's there, as I said, is a minimum viable product. I'm working on the development team there's a couple of tweaks. There's always going to be a few bugs. We want to change certain things in it at the moment. But I've done things like on my technical roadmap prior to COVID, I always had webinars was always going to be one. Learning management system was going to be one. HRM was going to be one. All of these things to put things into one spot for people. And I, in April, purchased the enterprise level of a particular webinar platform. And any of the providers who are registered on TrainedIn can use that webinar service through TrainedIn. If they're doing it directly themselves, I can give it to them for free. If you're doing it on behalf of somebody else, there's obviously a charge for it. But we can moderate it. We'll help promote it. We're doing paid marketing campaigns for some of our providers to market their own business at a very affordable rates. but it's all about adding value. And then we purchase the enterprise level of learning management software. So we're helping providers out there get online with pre-recorded training. And then we're selling back to them a branded branch of a learning management system at a cheaper cost that they buy the basic level from the platform directly itself. But with the enterprise level, you're not getting any restrictions and you're getting all the bells and whistles.
Would I be right in saying then that I suppose one of the bigger challenges, and specifically in a market like Ireland, is that people typically go to people they know? Like myself and Pete would see this a lot, and like even this
Very
evening,
much so.
I sent on a referral to a recruiter of someone I know who's looking for some work, and it's your reputation and that trust that people have in you. So trying to then put a platform around that to allow me to do something like that at more scale, is incredibly helpful. But maybe the drawback is that so much of it is dependent on that one person initially.
And I know exactly what you're saying. And referrals are brilliant. But sometimes, and it's not knocking the referral process at all, but if your husband recommends his sister's cousin because it's part of the family and she's a trainer, or she could be a consultant and she's amazing, that could be a referral. But you might not be able to stand over the quality or of that person, or they could be amazing. But with TrainedIn, and I have to be clear about it, it's a platform. We're booking.com for training and consultancy services. We are not saying that everybody on this platform is amazing, but we will verify them and say that everybody on this platform is a legitimate business because they have to verify their email addresses and there's no ghost profiles. And then anybody who has their little blue shield, they've gone through insurance details, tax clearance and qualifications. And then people will say, well, how are you protecting people not engaging with clientele and going off platform? So the way I look at it is, if you decide to go off platform and tell your client that I'll give it to you for 5% cheaper if you come directly to me, is that going to make somebody go off platform? Not really, because from a client perspective, they're using TrainedIn because it's saving them time in their back of house administration. We onboard TrainedIn as a provider and we can buy 100 different things off 100 different people and still have the invoicing coming from one. You're only going to do yourself a disservice if you try and go off the platform, because there's a ticker on your profile. So every job that you complete through the profile will only enhance your own online reputation. And then you'll get a star rating from whoever's completed the jobs through the portal. So it's kind of like, yes, it can happen, but I wouldn't. Well, I'd see that it wouldn't happen very much. And then because it's so transparent and open, I hope that it'll actually raise the standard of training and consultancy out there, because those people who aren't, I suppose, up to standard won't want to be in that public, very visible public forum.
Yeah. And I'm feeling this Airbnb thing coming back. And you said booking.com a couple of minutes ago, Sorcha. And no, that's fine, because that's got me thinking as well.
Don't get them started.
This is from Michael Seibel at Y Combinator. He was on a podcast called Invest Like the Best with Patrick O'Shaughnessy. And Michael from Y Combinator was talking about his framework for identifying whether a problem is worth solving, right? What is the frequency of that problem? How intense is it? And what is the willingness of someone to pay for you to relieve that problem, right? So the example he gave was Airbnb. So think about Airbnb for a minute, right? When you think about using Airbnb, is that kind of a frequent problem that you have that you need to solve?
It's not a frequent problem, especially right now, but I have used Airbnb in the past and I think it was great. And it actually, I did look at all of those different models when I was looking at TrainedIn, not just Airbnb,
Absolutely.
but all the rest of them.
And would it be an intense problem that you really need to solve, where you're going somewhere and you have such an intense problem to stay somewhere that you're willing to pay Airbnb beyond all others to solve that problem for you?
I don't think it's an intense problem. I just think that the solution is there in one place and there's so much variety, and that's where people
exactly
are.
So think about it from the other side of the Airbnb network. The property owner. You own an apartment in a city. You have the frequency of a problem, right? You want that every day. You want that property to be rented. It's a pretty intense problem because you're losing your shirt if it's not rented. And you do have a willingness to pay because you'll give up 12.5%, whatever it is, to Airbnb for them to get that let out for you. And I think that your property owners are the providers of training services, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's, thinking about, your business model, I think that's, that'd be an interesting way to look at it. You're already on that point anyway, because you referred to as booking.com, right? So, I think you're well on your way. One of the other things that I kind of picked up on in your business, Sorcha, was last year we had another Sorcha on the show, Sorcha Mulligan. And I think she pronounces her name differently than you, even though she spells it exactly the same way. So showing my Americanness here. And I'm not even going to try to say it, because if she's listening, then she'd just give out to me, because I got it wrong before and I'm not going to do it again. Anyway, one of her things is that she's always said that companies with big budgets can afford roles like chief innovation officers and chief digital officers, keeping an eye on where tech startups go, where they're disrupting, where they're reinventing industries. And her mission is to provide small to medium-sized enterprises with the insight on technology and innovation that only larger companies can really afford to have and have full time. I kind of saw some similar language that said helping to put small and medium enterprises on the same business footing as larger organizations. What inspired you to do that? Was there some point in your career where you're like, this just isn't fair? We need to be able to do this.
That's the exact word that came into my head as you were saying that, because it's just not fair. And it was, I suppose, around April 2018, even back that far, when I evolved my first but also current business, TEG Learning Development. And it was, how is it fair that the amount of money that I have to spend on marketing myself is going to really determine how successful my business is? And essentially that obviously you've got your own credibilities and the quality of your work helps as well. But if people can't see you, they're never going to know about this amazing work that you're doing. And what's happening is that all of these larger companies in the training and consultancy world have a core team of people, their finance, their accounts, their sales, their marketing, and maybe a couple of full-time trainers and consultants. And any work that comes in there surplus gets subcontracted out to all the smaller business and all the freelance trainers. And they all deliver the same high quality standard and the same high quality work. Though it's not that they can't do it, it's that they can't get established and be found on their own right, because they haven't had the money, time, the capability to be found and to be seen by people. So no, it's not fair. And when I see something that's not fair, it's like, just go out and go and do it. Like TrainedIn was a concept in July last year. It was a concept. Yeah. And now I got an awful lot of support from South Dublin Local Enterprise Office, and we did a feasibility study in August. I think I raised €120,000 in investment by December. We were shortlisted for the Local Enterprise Awards in February. We hadn't even launched at that stage. Then we received priming grant from the Local Enterprise Office of another 35,000. And I took on 5 interns in May, of which one of them deferred her third year of college, is now my full-time employee. And it's launched, and it is possible. Yeah. You can do it. You just have to, I suppose, like, there's some people out there that I would not be where I am today without the help and the goodness of, I suppose, my investors are one. I don't know if I should be name dropping people or anything here, but there's some people out there, and they know who they are, that have been instrumental in getting me and TrainedIn to where it is today. There's other people who, not by any malice at all, but everybody's been burned at some stage or another. It's been a massive, massive learning curve. Especially the development process was difficult, especially when coding is completely mind-boggling to you. And I don't speak tech at all, but they've just done an amazing job. Now, again, it's all a work in progress. But we're taking everything on board. It's going to constantly develop, evolve, and grow as we continue. Yeah.
And do you think that the learning, I suppose, because you went through that kind of personal piece with your training and development business, because the great thing I thought about TrainedIn was that it has all of those other kind of pieces to it. You were talking about the wellness and the HR and all of the things that obviously an individual or someone operating as a consultant doesn't have access to. I'm assuming or guessing that came from your own experience, and that was probably invaluable in terms of recognizing the challenges that consultants and trainers would have.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I feel that I'm very balanced in how I look at the platform because I've seen it and experienced it from both sides. So anytime that we do anything, it's always, well, how does this affect the other party? And what is going to be adding the most value to people before we continue on doing something? Because as you know, doing small changes in a tech world are costly kind of things.
Yeah.
As I've learned, but TrainedIn, it's not just one company, it's hundreds of companies because we are the glue that holds them all together. And this is how we work together. Like we'll be putting in things for like tendering portals where we can tender for different jobs together as a community, as opposed to all the bigger people getting all the contracts themselves. And this is what I was doing with TEG as well. We work together to deliver and make things accessible to everybody.
Very good. What do you think are some of the most sought after skills right now in Ireland with how the world's changed in 2020? What are some of the the top hits on TrainedIn really?
Health and safety is very sought after at the moment. Leadership skills are common. Project management skills are coming up trumps. Emotional intelligence is a huge one. Yeah, people emotional intelligence. Wellness is a huge one, and I'm doing at the moment, I've been engaged by one of the SkillNet bodies to deliver a series of 60 bite-sized upskilling workshops between the 17th of August and the 18th of December. But again, TrainedIn is the glue. There's 60 different providers using this service and delivering content for it, and it's across the whole variety of different topics. Our biggest seller, I think, was Excel training. So people getting upskilled in Excel and like soft skills are really important. But from my own perspective, my own skills, and from coming from the hospitality background, I think that everybody should do a year mandatory in the hospitality industry because it brings people out of their shells. It allows people to be able to communicate and converse with people on a normal level and maybe knocks the airs and graces out of some other people along the way. But if you can communicate with people, you can travel the world with it's a hospitality passport. And I know the industry is terribly affected at the moment. And that's why I'm working on a program right now with a number of providers that's looking at career development for employees who are out on furlough, but also looking at the business development to help the business and support them. And then also looking at the wellness aspect from not just a mental health perspective, but from a physical perspective as well, and put timetables together to allow everybody to get access to all of these things.
Obviously, you've been talking about the journey and the different kind of ups and downs and how all the support you've had. What do you think, from your point of view, in your own personality, has been helpful to you over the last kind of 2 years? The flip side being then, what areas other than maybe tech coding do you think that you've needed to work on or you've needed to learn about yourself?
I suppose I've always been a really driven kind of go get it type of person, and what I've done what I did in a 12-month period on my own, a lot of people are kind of flabbergasted with, but I was like, it was fine, just do it. And I suppose then I'm looking at, I suffer really badly with imposter syndrome, and I talk to such amazing people all the time who are super educated in all of these different fields. And sometimes I'm like, oh, please don't put in a word that I don't understand because I'm not going to be able to answer the question, And I've brought on a business advisor recently who has got a super amount of experience in business, because we're at a stage where we really need to put the pedal down and we really need to grow. And while I might have the creative mind and the drive and the passion, I still need somebody who will help steer and guide the boat and maybe pull the reins in a little bit anytime it's needed, because I'm planning like 3 years ahead. Yeah, but it's been really good, and it's been really like super enjoyable, and it was really taking like that leap of faith. I remember the first day, and it was because when I was in organization development, and I'm very open about my career, I was in Applegreen, but I was only there for 5 months because I wasn't the right person for the job. So I put my hand up after 5 months and my guys, you need someone stronger than I am. And I finished on the 24th of November, 2017. And I didn't know what I was going to do. It's like, what'll I do now? And an opportunity arose on 2 days later. And the 8th of December, I'm registering my business.
Wow.
And off you go. So that's kind of how it all started. It's like bang, bang, bang,
Everything
bang,
happens for a reason. I mean, it takes a great deal of confidence to
totally.
to be in a job for 5 months and then say, "Hey guys, sorry, it's not working out."
Yeah,
and I actually have nothing else to go to, and I'm gonna actually just move on.
Yeah,
that's massive.
Yeah. But there's no point. It was massive, and I'm not saying that my career has been all roses and everything, because it hasn't been. And I've seen the very best of business and the very worst of business. And I had a burnout in 2014, and I was out of work for 3 months. But the employer who I was with at the time was just super amazing to me because I'd been with them for so long, But I never went back to that position after it. But not because I didn't love them and we fell out, because I still work with them all the time. And some of my clients from my facilities management days who were my direct reports are now my clients in TrainedIn or TEG. So you collaborate. One of the guys who did the fit outs for us when I was in facilities gave me all of my office furniture when I went out on my own for TEG. So, it's great to always develop your relationships.
Absolutely.
Try and look at the positive. And if you feel that you don't know what to do and you're worried about taking a step, call me or call somebody who is not going to give you a load of BS and will give you the honest truth and help you make up your own mind. Because at the end of the day, it's your own mind you have to make up. It's not somebody telling you that you should do X, Y, or Z, because you do have to believe in what you're doing or else it won't work.
Absolutely. I read a great email from a founder I work with the other day. And he said, "Don't worry about questioning my mental will or resiliency. I've got buckets of both, and there's no bottom. There's no bottom to either bucket." Right. And this was just him talking to the team over email, and that was and it's like you're barely scratching the surface there. And I'm kind of sensing the same from you, and I'm also sensing that you've been in training for a lot longer than you take credit for, because I'm sure all those years
I know that
in the hospitality industry, you trained in loads of people.
Oh, it was, and this is, see what you just said? You trained in loads of people. And people might have said, did you rob that name from somewhere else? And I'm like, no, trained in is going to become a household name. Susan starting next week, you have to make sure they're trained in before they start. It's going to be in conversation. So training and development has always been at the forefront of my career. I remember when I was running events, I used to run all the events in the Mansion House behind Fire, and the directors of Fire used to bring all the staff down to listen to my staff briefings before all of the events. They used to call me the Sergeant Major in school, or not school, sorry, back in the day. We had so much fun, and it was such an experience. And you have people coming up to you when you're leaving and telling you that you've been an inspiration in their career and how you've made them want to achieve more. When I was in the airport, I managed 7 sites in the airport when I was with KSG, and that was amazing. But it was a roller coaster. It's like 24/7. You have to leave at some stage because it's on all the time. And you learn very quickly that if you're going to visit all of your units, make sure that you have everything that you need, because it was a 3-kilometer walk to get to all of them and back again. But we turned the airport site into like a training conveyor belt for the larger group. And KSG have their own City and Guilds accredited training centre in their head office as well. So it was always at the forefront of my career. I think in every job I've been in. I just love it. And I'm so systematic in how I do things as well. Don't go all over the place. People get it.
No.
Start at the top. You go A to Z.
I'm feeling it. And it all makes sense on exactly why you're doing this. Looking ahead, when you think about kind of we're already 2020 is nearly gone, right? But if you look ahead at the end of 2021 and you think about in 3 words or less, how would you describe TrainedIn at the end of 2021?
I would probably give it to you in one. Global.
Very good.
There we go.
Because I'm getting global interest already from different places. So it's amazing, really. So the platform is there. All it needs to do is have the cities and locations popped into the drop-down boxes, and it doesn't matter where you are in what country in the world. And if you decide, when we're allowed to, if you're living in Dublin and you're deciding, I'm going to emigrate to Spain and I'm taking my training business all the way with me over to Spain, all you have to do is change the location on your services and you're done.
I'm with you. I was talking to someone about this today that, if you can actually perfect your online business, and when it's delivering market intelligence, when it's delivering training, when it's just delivering an ability for folks to network online, right? Together, in a video setting like this, if you can get that right now, imagine how much stronger of a number 2 option it will be for you when things perhaps go back to a physical setting, right? And to always have this online option. And this was in the context of talking to someone about startups in the Dublin area. And I'm like, listen, you need far beyond Dublin. You need Cork. You need Galway. You need Waterford. You need the Northwest up in Donegal. You need Belfast. There so many things happening in all these places. And now is a perfect time for you to expand your network because everyone's doing it virtually, right? So
it's funny. Yeah. My number 2, Bridget Quinlan, put a snap onto LinkedIn today of we have a huge map, one in Ireland and the UK in the office, and she has all the green dots all over. So we've representation in every county in the country now for something. And then it's for the UK is progressing as well. So
cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really, really amazing.
All right. Well,
it's a great story. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't expect this.
Really
I didn't
impressive.
expect this.
What?
No,
Did you
I mean, I looked at your business and was very impressed with, and again, it's the network side of it that I just, totally love, right? And that anytime I see a network business, I'm like, okay, I want to learn more about this, right? And I think in the last, 30 minutes, I've gone from, maybe 1 on a scale out of 10 in terms of appreciation for what it is that you're doing up to about 8 or 9. So you tell the story quite well. So thank you.
Woohoo! That's great. I'll take that.
Owen, do you want to?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Owen, do you want to ask your final famous last question?
Yes. My favorite question is always tell us something that people wouldn't expect to know about you.
When I left school, it was either hotel management or the army.
Wow.
There you go now.
Well, obviously, as Sergeant Major, it would have been a good fit for you then.
Yeah. And
the army has missed out.
Telling you, yeah. Actually, it was it early 2000, the early noughties, I think it was. I actually applied for the Guards and got to like the 5th round of interviews for the Guards, and then I pulled out in the end because I become accustomed to a lifestyle and wasn't ready to go back on trainee wages again. But I was destined for the drug squad, much to my mother's dismay. She was like, what? You'll be killed.
I have an intro for you. I definitely have an intro for you.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who has a military background and who has a systematic, structured way to thinking about everything. We will get you guys hooked up. Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Sorcha, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Really, really enjoyed it. Hopefully you won't have to do too many edits.
I think we'll be
just
good.
So we know, what are your dogs' names?
Oh, Coco and Reilly. They're my furry babies.
The life of Riley and the life of Coco.
Nice.
There you go. Coco Chanel and the life of Reilly.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Sorcha.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks very much.
That does it for this week, folks. And thanks to Sorcha for opening up her mind to help us figure out why she does what she does. Links and show notes for this episode are on moneyneversleeps.ie, so check us out online. Also, you can subscribe to our Money Never Sleeps newsletter at moneyneversleeps.substack.com. If you're enjoying Money Never Sleeps and want to see it continue, make sure you hop on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. And don't forget Conan Brophy from Create Sound. He mixes and edits each episode for us and is an excellent media man to get in touch with when you're thinking about launching your own podcast. As for me, I help startups get their products to market, get customers, and finance their vision. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or at norioventures.com. And you can follow Owen Fitzgerald on Twitter at OwenFitzgerald9. Finally, till next time, thanks for listening. See ya!